Good evening. It is 5:30 p.m. on Wednesday, January 3rd, 2024, and this regular meeting of the Sandpoint City Council is now called to order in council chambers at City Hall, 1123 West Lake Street in Sandpoint, Idaho. For the record, I'm Mayor Shelby Ronstadt presiding. Also present are Councilor President Kate McAllister and Councilors Joel Aspiro, Jason Welker, and Justin Dick. Under the city's adopted Code of Ethics and Civility, as the presiding officer, I am to identify law enforcement personnel in the room who will be serving as our Sergeant of Arms. This evening, it is Police Chief Corey Kuhn in the back of the room. If everyone will please now rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Next are announcements. Are there any announcements from staff this evening? None from staff. Council?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I have a motion I'd like to make before we get into the main agenda tonight, and that is to actually amend the agenda to move items 8 and 9 to the beginning of the meeting. So that following the consent calendar, we get straight into the presentations to outgoing officials and installation of the newly elected mayor and council members.
Is there a second?
Second.
It's been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? This will be a roll call vote.
Counselor McAllister?
Yes.
Counselor Sprow?
Yes.
Counselor Welker?
Yes.
Counselor Dick?
Yes.
Motion passes. Our agenda is amended. Next, we will have the public forum portion of the meeting, which gives the public the opportunity to.
Yeah, fine, Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
Before we get to that, I do have a question for legal, if I may. Obviously, with the departure of our current city administrator, is there any insight you can give us onto if the city council can appoint a temporary city administrator, or what does that look like from our perspective and from the city function?
So what you would need to do as a council is have that item be a discussion and agenda item at a future council meeting so that you can actually have a discussion, have an opportunity for thorough legal advice, and then take a vote on whether or not you wish to direct the mayor to have an interim city administrator.
So is that something we can push for, say, the 17th?
Or you can make a request tonight to have it on the next.
Yeah, I'd like to do
agenda.
that request for staff, please. Thank you.
Is there a second council member that wishes to have that on the agenda for the next meeting?
Yeah, I agree with Joel. That should be a discussion we have as soon as possible.
Thank you.
Any other announcements from council? Okay. So next on the agenda is the public forum portion of the meeting, which allows the public the opportunity to address the council and myself regarding items listed on the consent calendar or on any topic not included on the agenda this evening. If anyone in chambers wishes to speak now during the public forum or during any other portion of the meeting this evening, you must complete a sign-up form that's available on the table by the front door. Please complete that and hand it to any staff at the back table there. If you're on Zoom and wish to speak during the general public forum, you will raise your hand on Zoom at this time, please. To accommodate those who wish to speak on general items during the public forum, as well as those who wish to speak on specific business items on our agenda, a total of 20 minutes will be dedicated to the public forum at the beginning of our meeting now. And if you would like to speak and did not have the opportunity to do so, we will reopen the public hearing following our regular agenda. I'll now recite the rules and procedure for public comment during the meeting. Council may not hear or take testimony during public forum or in any planning and zoning matter that is before the city or is known to be a likely application. Such testimony is allowed only during the properly noticed public hearing. Matters that have been previously heard and decided by the council may be determined to be inappropriate for public forum. Those in attendance shall not engage in disorderly or boisterous conduct, use threatening or abusive language, hold up or display any type of sign, speak out of turn, or clap or engage in any other similar act which disturbs the meeting. Comments shall not be personally derogatory, nor shall they be personally directed at any individual, organization, or business. Issues regarding the performance of city employees constitute matters that must be discussed only in executive session and are not appropriate during the public forum, during the public portion of the meeting. Public comments, opportunities during meetings are for comments only. Please do not direct any questions to myself, council, or staff, and please do not approach the dais. Also, please do not approach the clerk or staff up in the front of the room, as this disrupts the meeting and makes it difficult for them to perform their duties. You may inquire of staff at the back table at the back of the room, and they can provide any assistance you may need. Unless otherwise provided, each speaker will be allowed 3 minutes. When it is your turn to speak, please introduce yourself and state whether or not you reside within Sandpoint city limits. Madam Clerk, has anyone signed up to speak during the public forum?
Yes, Mr. Mayor. Helen Newton.
Helen Newton, resident of the city of Sandpoint. Please indulge me for a brief City Government 101 on duties and responsibilities and traditions. I feel qualified to share these thoughts based on my 24 years as city clerk and 4 years on city council. Sandpoint, and these are taken from Sandpoint Code or Idaho Code. Sandpoint Code Title I, Chapter 5 provides that the mayor shall have a vote at city council meetings only when the council is equally divided. However, this does not apply when there is a tie vote for council president. Otherwise, the mayor could simply appoint a council president. If there is a tie, the city clerk flips a coin. Title I addresses special meetings. They may be held at the call of the mayor or by a majority of the members of the full council. That means no less than 4 council members must make the written request, clearly stating the reason and presenting it to the clerk. Further, Title I provides that the rules of the council may be temporarily altered, amended, or suspended, but only by unanimous vote of the members present. Appointed city officials shall be appointed by the mayor and confirmed by the city council by unanimous vote of the members present. Designated appointed officials are the police chief, administrator, attorney, clerk, and treasurer. Until the most recent administration, this list also included the planner and the Parks and Recreation director. City councils do not have the power to hire or fire, only to confirm or deny such action when it is proposed by the mayor. Further, these appointed officials shall serve at the discretion and pleasure of the mayor and the city council. They may be terminated at any time by the mayor for any cause deemed sufficient, provided the action is confirmed by 4 votes. Upon the city council's own initiative, any appointed official may be removed by unanimous vote of all 6 of the city council members. Best wishes to both our old and new, and congratulations to the newly elected officials. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Newton. Madam Clerk?
Pam Duquette. Molly McCann.
Good evening, Molly McCann for the record. Thank you for agreeing to move those items down on the agenda, allowing the new elected officials the opportunity to vote. But those agenda items were not correctly notified to the public or newly elected officials and should be tabled until the next meeting. The public was under the impression that the previous board would be voting on these items, and the incoming electeds were not properly prepared or informed for an educated decision on those topics. This seems to go against the intent of open meeting laws. Second, on the Russell facility, again, please reconsider the location of the Russell facility and maintain Travers Park as an outdoor park and keep those 2 acres as open green space. Additionally, I recently learned that extensive earthwork was taking place on the east side of Travers Park along Chuck Slough for another bike skills type project. I know there is a construction general permit for the approximate 2 acres where the building and the playground are planned, but it is unclear whether the land disturbance near Chuck Slough has GEP coverage and has been included in the larger project area. If not, it needs to have that. it needs to have that coverage with an assigned project manager, as it is now part of the larger Traverse Park project, which is disturbing more than an acre and can potentially discharge to the waters of the United States. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. McCann.
Janine Shepherd.
Janine Shepherd, Bonner County, Mayor, Councilors, just wanted to open us in prayer tonight. If you would like to join me in prayer, I would really love that. Dear Lord, we come to you at the beginning of this new year and first of all, say thanks. Thank you for the things we know you did and the things that you spared us from as well. Your hand is in all things, and we trust you to make all things right. We know your plan is good, and we thank you in advance for what you will do this year. The new year allows us to reflect in many ways where we have been and where we are going. We see the opportunity to make new choices and decisions, heading in different directions, maybe closer to you in this season. In this time, I would ask that you would draw the people here to you in new ways, allowing them to feel their need for you and to see your hand move in their lives. Help them to long for you and be curious about you. Please move in this place and bring the people to you. We desperately need you. In Isaiah, you said, "Forget the former things. Do not dwell on the past. See, I am doing a new thing. Now it springs up. Do you not perceive it? I'm making a way in the wilderness and streams in the wasteland." We feel it, Lord. As some of our elected officials are moving on and others are just beginning, I ask that your blessing be on each one. Give them the wisdom in their next steps, seeking you and your will in each situation. Please bless our city, Lord. Make it your own. And we ask that you bless this meeting. In Jesus' name, amen. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Shepherd.
Steve Geiger.
Thank you, Steve Geiger, and I am the mayor for the city of Ponderay, and I just like to express a few things. 16 years ago, when I signed on as council, our communities were pretty much at odds. We didn't even really get along too great. And since then, in the last 8 years, I think we've had a great working relationship with the city. It's been great to get to know you, Mr. Mayor, and council members, and I wish you well on your next chapter in life. I just want to express, I think that working together in this community is very important for us all to do. And I will miss you guys. I will miss you, Jennifer. It's been great knowing you and working with you. And I just like to congratulate the new council members and new mayor to the helm here. There's a big job there ahead of them. So I wish them the very best and look forward to a great relationship working in the future with them as well. Thank
Excellent.
you.
Thank you, Mayor Geiger. Really appreciate you being here tonight.
Mr. Mayor, we have someone on Zoom.
Okay.
Rebecca Holland.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Hello? Hi. Rebecca Holland, longtime resident, now going into my 49th year in Bonner County. First thing I'd like to say is I believe that the motion that was made was inappropriate for putting anything on the next agenda. The only thing that this council, I believe, is supposed to be dealing with is fiscal manners, polishing up the bills from last year. So I suppose legal will need to figure that out. And tonight at this first council meeting of the new year, 3 of our residents are stepping up to the awesome responsibility of representing the will of the people. It is well understood that this change at the diocese comes at a time when generational families feel worried that the town we love and that what we've built here could get pushed onto a chopping block for a glossy makeover, be that at City Beach or along Sand Creek, or as seen at Traverse Park, where the community's ignored outcry to save a grove of park trees, along with its red and orange playset, forced a passionate protest. It's fair to say this community is done with what I call, quote, the Stapleton Shelby manipulative machine. Significant lessons from this experience need to be recognized. There's no question that this council's flat refusal to listen to the people resulted in the changes that are being made tonight. Residents spoke decisively at the ballot box for significant changes to occur within the structure of City Hall. Democracy in action is a beautiful thing. And just think, only 22 months from now, it'll be accountability time again. But as for now, let's be patient and respectful under Mayor Grimes' new leadership to return department heads and the advisory committees of local citizens back to when destruction of well-functioning infrastructure would never have occurred. Council, the time has come to listen less to out-of-state advisors and more to our residents who are saying, please value our existing town. Take care of all that our community has built through the years. Yes, of course, improvements can be made, but let's focus first on some environmental issues that have been neglected, such as the dirty stormwater pouring into Sand Creek off of Farm and Landon, but without the added drama of a plaza stage. Okay, keep Sandpoint real is the winning slogan of this election. And as I expect, Councilwoman Duquette will remind you of this for the next 4 years. I wish this new council the very best, and as you move forward under new leadership. Thank you for listening, and here's cheers to Jeremy and to Pam and to Kyle.
Thank you, Ms. Holland. Appreciate your comments. For clarity, for both Ms. Holland and those present who are bearing witness today, 2 sitting council members at any point can add an item to the agenda. And that's what happened here during announcements. Madam Clerk, do we have another person that'd like to speak during the public forum?
I do not see any other hands raised on Zoom, Mr. Mayor, and I have no other sign-up sheets in the room.
Okay. That concludes the public forum portion of the meeting this evening. We'll now proceed with the consent calendar. For the record, the total amount of bills is $1,940,321.49, reflecting $1,114,361.90 for regular payables and $825,959.59 for payroll.
Mr. Mayor.
Yeah.
I think there were at least one more member of the public who wished to speak during the forum. I see some.
Was there somebody else who would like to speak during the public forum? Okay.
I think there was a
One moment,
miscommunication
Mr.
in the
Mayor.
back.
Okay.
Sorry to cut you off.
Great. Thanks. Okay.
Sorry about that.
No worries. So, does council have any questions regarding the consent calendar? Are there any items to remove? I would entertain a motion to approve the consent calendar.
So moved. Second.
Been moved and seconded. Is there any discussion? This will be a roll call vote.
Counselor Dick,
Yes.
Counselor McAllister,
Yes.
Counselor Sprow,
Yes.
Counselor Walker.
Yes.
Consent calendar is approved. And next we have presentations to outgoing officials. And at this time, I'll yield the floor to City Administrator Jennifer Stapleton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Normally, this honor goes to the mayor or to council president, but in this particular case, our outgoing officials are our mayor and our council president. And what I have for you tonight is a gift for each of you, Mr. Mayor, for you in honor of your service to the city of Sandpoint over the last 8 years as our mayor, and to you, Madam President, for your last 4 years of service as our council president for half of those years. So I would like to make a gift to both of you on behalf of the citizens, the sitting council members, as well as the staff. And thank you for your service.
Thank you, Jennifer. We should stand together.
Oh, sure, why not?
Above.
Mr. Mayor, one moment.
Chief, you were right.
He always is.
So next we will have the installation of the newly elected mayor and council members. Before we proceed, I would just like to say a few words, and I welcome my fellow council members to join with me. I want to say from the bottom of my heart, thank you to the citizens of Sandpoint. Thank you to city staff. Thank you to current council members, as well as former council members that I've had the privilege of serving with. It has been one of the greatest honors and privileges of my life to serve in this role, as well as serve on the city council, serving on the Planning and Zoning Commission before that. But this has truly been an honor, and I'm very proud of what we have all done collectively. This is not a singular, the mayor is often seen as, where the buck stops, if you will. But nothing that happens at the city is a result of anything but a tremendous team effort. And when I say that, I'm talking about the whole of the city staff. I'm talking about every council member up here. And I'm talking about all the community members out there that continue to be engaged in everything that happens here. There's so much that happened, especially these last 8 years, that required your continued involvement and participation and engagement, and even just showing up to meetings like this and standing up and saying your 3 minutes of whatever's on your heart and mind. Really helps us make informed decisions up here and understand where the community is at, and it helps us do our jobs better. So thank you for continuing to stay engaged and be involved as citizens of your community that obviously we all love dearly, and obviously you all love dearly as well. So thank you so much. And I want to say personally to each of my fellow council members up here, it has truly been an honor to serve with you. And I have the utmost respect for people who take on this very difficult job of sitting up here and taking a lot of arrows. And there is no easy decisions up here. When I first began serving on planning and zoning, and then even more so when I began serving on city council, I was ignorant, like most of us are when we're newly elected, newly serving officials, right? Coming up here thinking I always had the answer when I came to the dais, right? And learning very quickly that I actually don't know everything, right? And actually every single issue that we face up here is way, way more complicated than it appears from that side of the dais. And for that reason, I have so much respect for these people that sit up here and step into that very difficult role of making trying to understand the complexity of all the issues that face this city that are important to all of you. And there's a wide range of issues that are very important to all of you. And it's not an easy job. And it's for the most part, a thankless job. And I just have the utmost respect for all of these fellow council members that sit up here with me. And I just want to say to each of you how I've seen just in these few short years, how I've seen your personal growth as leaders in your community. I know it's a big step as a leader to even run for office, but then just watching your evolution over these couple of years has really been impressive. These people have really grown as individuals, grown as public servants. I've seen them grow in their wisdom and their decision-making, and it makes me proud. And it makes me proud to serve with you. And I have the utmost faith and trust in their continued service for the benefit of the whole of Sandpoint. So you're all incredibly dedicated, hardworking, and committed people. And I know that you're up here for the right reasons because you care about this community very, very deeply. I've never sat up here with somebody on this dais that does not care about this community very, very deeply. We all have different perspectives and we all may take different approaches to solving problems, but everybody up here cares. Nobody up here is up here for any ulterior motives. And I just want to be really clear about that. So thank you all for your public service. It has truly been an honor. And I would open the floor up if anyone wants to say a few words. You certainly don't have to.
Sure,
But,
I'll say a few words. Thank you very much for letting me serve these 4 years. It's been incredible. And I will echo the mayor saying that until you get up here and you sit in the seat, you really have no idea what it is like. I would encourage the new council members to read your packet. Ask questions of the staff. The staff is amazing. Their expertise in the areas that they serve is incredible. It is invaluable when you have questions, and in the beginning, you're going to have so many questions. It's ridiculous. Make sure that you ask them because this is their livelihood. This is what they do. I respect them so highly. They all know how I feel about them. I visited with many of them over the years, and my fellow council members. I wasn't going to cry. You are incredible human beings. And you made a difference in my life. And you think I'm moving away to a foreign country, for God's sake. And I know that you'll serve the city well. I appreciate your youth. I appreciate your vigor and getting behind everything. I'm proud that you always read your packet. And that you were always prepared. I'm sorry that Deb isn't here. And Mr. Mayor, thank you for your belief. Thank you for the hard work. Thank you, Jennifer. I know there's been a lot of stress in the community, but I want you to know that up here again, we have no ulterior motive. We don't get paid big, huge money. We don't do it for the fame and the fortune, that's for sure. We do it because we care about our community. And for those of you who think that you know a lot, I encourage you to run. I encourage you to run for this office because it's easier for you to sit there and throw rocks at everybody and think that you know what is the best, but you really need to participate. And that's what we've been asking for. And even though it's been contentious, seeing people participate the last, 6-7 months has been incredible. And I hope you stay involved because it is your community. And for those of us who are 60s and older, we are living our future. This is what we have worked for. This is our future now. But for those of you who are younger, my fellow council members, the future belongs to you. And you need to pay attention and you need to be involved and you need to ask questions because you go along and you don't pay attention and then something comes up that you don't like and it's too late. So please pay attention. I wish the new council members the best of luck. The mayor, I hope that, our community goes forward. We're a great community. I've been here over 30 years and I love it all. It's an amazing community. And so thank you for these 4 years. It's been incredible. I probably know more than I should know about how a city is run now. And again, thank you, fellow council mayors and, or council members and Mr. Mayor.
Thanks. Anyone else?
I'll just say, I want to thank both of you guys. I've learned a tremendous amount in this past 2 years from working with both of you. Feel like I've grown as not only as a community member, but a community servant and a human being. So I thank you for the time that you've put in and your steadfastness to this community and what that's meant to all of us. So thank you both, and I'll be seeing you around here. You're not going too far.
I would echo Justin's sentiments there, and particularly Kate, you mentioned, encouraging new council members to read the packets. I know that no one paid more attention to those packets every 2 weeks than you did. Kate is and always reminded us that she is a policy wonk. She studies and understands government so well. She is a leadership mentor for so many in this community. I hope you stay involved with Leadership Sandpoint. I know that has affected many people in this room have been part of that group. I was part of that group. Justin was part of that group. Shelby's been part of that group, so that I think you can continue to have an impact in the community, training and preparing the next leaders in the business and the nonprofit and the public sector. And I hope you stay involved. And we're going to miss you up here, Kate. It's been really great. And Shelby, thank you for giving me the opportunity 4 years ago, 4.5 years ago, to get involved as a planning and zoning commissioner. That's a great first step for anybody who's thinking of getting into public service, is serve on one of the commissions. I think we're going to have some new commissions coming online here pretty soon. So there should be many new opportunities for involvement in commissions. That's a fantastic way to get involved in your community. And Shelby, I mean, it's been what, 14 years, 15 years, I think you've been serving this community. So that's nothing to balk at. That is a huge commitment of a big chunk of your life. So thank you both and good luck on your next steps. And I'm glad you guys are going to be part of our community.
Thanks, Jason.
Yeah, sure. Can't say much more, but Shelby, thank you. It's been a long 6 years on my part with agreements and disagreements, but again, it's not an easy thing to serve the community. So thank you. And Kate, it's been a great 4 years. Feels a lot longer. I learned a lot from you, being younger, and I appreciate you and your leadership. And I really hope that we could be an example, although we're probably different sides of the aisle politically, that we can still work together and try to move forward to do what's best for the community. So appreciate you and thank you very much.
Thank you, Joel. All right, now we have the swearing in ceremony. And Madam Clerk, I seem to be missing. We have it here. What's that?
Just as you get ready to swear
Yeah.
everybody in, I know we have a lot of family members that are standing outside in the foyer. With your permission, when you get ready to start swearing people in, if we could bring them in and just have them stand. I know it kind of violates the fire code, but we have an exit in the front, 2 exits in the back for a short period of time. But we'll let you do that as you call them out. That's okay. Does that make sense? Let me say it again.
Yeah.
Sometimes I talk fast.
Is that,
And you're
are you recognizing the?
you had that look when I talk to my wife. She gives me that same look sometimes. And I've got to stop, and we have a lot of family members in the
Okay.
foyer outside
Uh-huh.
that would like to be inside and present for the swearing in on some of them. I know that we do have a fire code.
That's
The fire-
absolutely fine.
The fire chief's not here today. Just like to clearly point that out. But if we have them stand on the walls, it'd be okay. We can just point out we have an exit in the front, 2 exits in the back. If a fire does break out, run in one of those 3 directions would be my advice. But I'll leave that up to you. But that'd be my recommendation.
Sounds good.
Mr. Mayor, I have everything you need down here.
Oh, thank you. Appreciate it. Okay, we will now proceed with the swearing in, and if are we going to start with the council members?
We are.
Okay.
You'll want to call Kyle Schreiber.
Okay, so we'll call up first Kyle Schreiber to the front podium here.
Stand somewhat here-ish. Perhaps you're on the camera. And
Okay. Yeah. Yeah. During the December, you can wait on that part. Yeah. During the December 6, 2023 meeting, council accepted Bonner County's canvass of the results of the City of Sandpoint November 7th, 2023 general election, with Jeremy Grimm elected as mayor and Deb Rule and Kyle Schreiber and Pam Duquette elected to be the 3 council seats that were up for the election. At this time, we'll proceed with the oath of office and install our new mayor and council members. So here we are. You ready? Okay.
Ready?
Okay. If you can please raise your right hand. Do you, Kyle Schreiber, solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Idaho and faithfully discharge the duties of the city councilor of the City of Sandpoint according to the best of your ability?
I do, and I will.
Okay. With that,
We'll sign those.
we're like. You want to get another photo of this? I'm going to present him the official certificate. All right. Thanks. Yeah. Okay. Pam, please come forward. Councilor Duquette. Would you please raise your right hand?
I could do that.
Do you, Pam Duquette, solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Idaho and faithfully discharge the duties of City Councilor of the City of Sandpoint according to the best of your ability?
Yes, I do, and I will.
All right, congratulations.
Thank you.
Go ahead and sign right here.
I just wanted to share with my daughter and her granddaughter how things can work with a little faith and community support. Don't hold that too long. Yeah.
Before you head out there, let me present this to you.
Okay.
I don't know if he wants that, but I'd sure like to do that.
Okay, thanks.
Okay. Mr. Graham. Sandpoint's new mayor.
I seen that face before. I ain't going up there, Dad.
I got it. Okay. Would you like to put a hand on the Bible and please raise your right hand? Do you, Jonathan H. Grimm, solemnly swear that you will support the Constitution of the United States and the Constitution of the State of Idaho and faithfully discharge the duties of mayor of the City of Sandpoint according to the best of your ability?
I do, and I will.
Congratulations. Thank you. Thank you, Sheldon.
Thank you, everyone. As my first act as the mayor, just calling for a brief recess. We'll reconvene as the full new council momentarily. So give us a moment. This is the regular meeting of the Sandpoint City Council is now called back into order. For the record, I am Mayor Jeremy Grimm presiding. Also present are councilors Joel Aspiro, Jason Welker, Justin Dick, Kyle Schreiber, and Pam Duquette. At this moment, I would just like to give the incoming council members a moment to address the public if they so desire. Ladies first.
Thanks. I think I'm pretty loud, but I just have to say I was gonna make public comment. I come here with mixed emotions right now. I just have to get this off my chest so that I can move forward. I feel like disrespect was shown to myself and to the mayor and to council-elect Schreiber, sorry. In the whole beginning, when the agenda came out, that we were not put in, and then we were going to be put in, and I don't know, the legality of everything. I just feel a lot of things happened that did not make me feel respected, and I earned this spot. The community has chosen to let me help them proceed to make Sandpoint or keep it real again, like I say. I don't know, I'm an equal. I expect to be treated like an equal. I just have to give a quick shout out to Don and Rebecca Holland. I know a lot of people don't agree with them. They are strong community members. They brought forth the whole, in my opinion, the issue about the agenda. They've stuck behind the community forever. I just want to give a shout out to them. They're my friends. Yeah, like I said, I'm happy to be here. I look forward to us working together. I want a cohesive unit. I know I can work with Council-elect Schreiber. It's going to be hard to say that. So thanks for the welcome, and thanks to the community, and thank everybody for showing up. And please keep in touch and call me out when I'm not doing what you want, but let me know what you want as well, please.
Thank you, Council Member Duquette. And it's now, you can drop the elect because it's now.
Okay.
Council members, right?
Okay.
Um,
I wasn't expecting to sit here. I'm sorry. I feel at a disadvantage totally. So just
Right.
take that. into
We'll
consideration.
address seating maybe next week. Councilman Schreiber, are there any comments you'd like to give to the public?
Mr. Mayor, yes. I'd like to thank the community for all the support and for, trusting and believing in me to represent you up here. I'd like to acknowledge the outgoing mayor and councilor and city administrator for the part that they played in getting to Sandpoint where it is today. And, I'd like to acknowledge, a lot of people know that I'm a pretty passionate person, and I come from a background of spirited debate, and I think that's why Councilor Welker and I get along so well. But I'd like to acknowledge that not everybody feels that way, and just want to offer an olive branch to anyone who felt attacked or insulted by any of my comments. There's a quote from former counselor Andy Grote that I've never forgotten, and that is that conversation is always better than an angry letter. And I look forward to being able to have a conversation with the council and city staff rather than standing at the podium and shouting into the void for 3 minutes. And I'd also like to extend that invite to the public to always feel free to reach out to me. My door is always open. I'd love to have a conversation with each and every one of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman Schreiber. Ladies and gentlemen, friends, colleagues, business owners, people of Sandpoint, as I look out among you, I see something so special. Do you see it? I see believers of all types, Christians, atheists, and others sitting side by side. I see sportsmen and women and passionate environmentalists, meat eaters, vegetarians, vegans. I see people who love the outdoors, mountain bikers, powered off-road vehicle enthusiasts, skiers, snowboarders. I see entrepreneurs, artists, I see writers and actors, mentors, teachers, coaches, students. Some I see are entering the final chapters of their life, and others are just beginning their journeys. We are so blessed. We truly have more that binds us than divides us. And what binds us is the love of this place, Sandpoint, Idaho, and the people who call it home. But more so, not only is this Sandpoint, you people, many of you in the audience tonight, also are representative of the broad group of supporters who my campaign priorities resonated. I am so humbled and honored to have earned your trust, and I take that responsibility of being mayor of Sandpoint very seriously. Starting tonight, my phone will ring in times of crisis and emergency, whether it's an issue with our water or wastewater, police or fire, or other public services. I will be the 34th mayor of Sandpoint to carry this load. Of course, the future is unknown and no one knows what trials may face us in the coming 4 years. For those mayors before me, it was the 1910 fire, the 1918 Spanish flu, Black Friday, December 7th, 1941, the byway, and of course, we all remember COVID, and many other challenges days face them. With this in mind, I know that a house divided will fall, and that we are more capable, stronger, and resilient working together than in opposition. In the future, maybe even later tonight, there will be inevitably discussions and policy decisions and actions that we disagree on. However, we can find much more to agree on, whether it's economic prosperity for our residents, safe and connected pedestrian travel, development of trail and recreational facilities, protection of our environment, and more. Throughout these next 4 years, we can hear and follow the will of the residents, wisely spend taxpayer resources on prudent infrastructure, and leave this community more unified and better positioned to address the challenges in the future. Collectively, we can accomplish great things, and along the way, have healthy debate, discussions, and respectfully dialogue, even with those with dissenting opinions. To our community, democracy is a participatory sport. In today's busy world, engagement and keeping up is more difficult than ever. But it is critical to help the elected officials make the best decisions possible so that you're involved. And to those who engage, can I ask that you don't simply watch from the sidelines, sometimes only aroused by conflicting views or the drama of a decision. Lean in, get your hands dirty, offer solutions, hear opposing viewpoints, learn, become informed. To the voters, as mayor, I will focus on my campaign priorities. I will lead an effort to reevaluate the city administrative and organizational structure in an effort to make City Hall more responsive and resilient. I will work to improve the engagement of residents in decision-making by reactivating our citizen committees. I will focus spending on critical infrastructure, taking care of and repairing what we have before building new. I will work to support the diversification of the Sandpoint economy, more and better year-round jobs for our residents and opportunity for our children. I will collaborate with Bonner County and neighboring towns to address concerns of growth. To staff, thank you so much. As a former employee, I know the challenges, dedication, and hard work it takes to provide services to our residents. You are passionate, capable, and an invaluable asset to our community. I will tirelessly support you in your roles as we face the innumerable obstacles ahead. To council, with all sincerity, I look forward to working with you and hope that we can wipe the slate clean as we address the work before us. Our government is set up to function efficiently and serve the people so long as we respect the separation of powers and the authority and responsibility designated to the executive and legislative branches. And finally, to my family, Nicole and the kids. Thank you for believing in me and supporting me. There'll be many late nights and empty sets at the dinner table. But beyond playing a secondary role in raising you, This is some of the most important work of my life. Now let's do this. The first business under old business is a proposal to create the James E. Russell Sports Center Endowment Fund, which would establish with interest earnings from the donation of the city received from James and Virginia Ginny Russell, and would be used for the purpose of supporting future maintenance and operations and capital improvements for the sports facility and adjacent Gateway Plaza. I now yield the floor to City Administrator Jennifer Stapleton.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. And I apologize. I have a case of laryngitis tonight. And I shut out of my screen, sorry.
Comfy chair.
Are these touch screens up here? Anyone?
No.
No.
How you feeling?
Okay, I apologize for that. Before you tonight is consideration of the establishment of the James E. Russell Sports Center Endowment Fund to be funded with interest earnings from the donation previously received from James A. and Virginia Ginny Russell. This endowment fund will support future maintenance and operation expenses as well as capital improvements for the facility. It is proposed for your consideration the establishment of this fund, which creates the opportunity for other donors to contribute to maintenance operation efforts and capital contributions moving forward, and provide an ongoing source of funding that will reduce burden on city taxpayers and users of the facility. The establishment of this fund is with interest earnings, and it would be the intention that moving forward with any remaining interest earnings after construction of the project is completed, and all contingencies that may be incurred or paid out related to the project, that any excess interest earnings would be added to this fund to support future maintenance and operations and capital improvements. And I will stand for any questions. And I would also note for Mayor and Council that Shelley O'Quinn, the President and CEO of Innovia Foundation, is also participating online, and Dig Krismer, a local representative of the Community Foundation here in our community, is present in the audience as well.
Thank you, Ms. Stapleton. Does council have any questions?
I'll just make a comment. I think this is a wise use of the interest earnings that we've earned. I believe that's it's a quite substantial amount of money that's been earned in interest. This donation was made over a year and a half ago, so it's actually gained quite a lot from the original 7.5 million. And there has been concern along the way over the last 2 years on this project about how will we support maintenance and operations of this. And I view this endowment fund as a great way. I mean, we've got a lot of supporters of youth sports and racket sports in our community who I'm sure would be willing to contribute to this fund. So it's a good way for the community to pitch in and help us. Oh my gosh, I think your laryngitis is and help us keep this facility open and free for the community to use, which is something that I think everybody values a lot. So I've been a fan of this effort since it's been proposed several months ago. And I do think Innovia is a great organization. They do a lot of good work in the Inland Northwest for cities and for communities. So having this opportunity, I think, is a really wise use of those funds. I'm quite familiar with how endowment funds work, but I'm guessing there are other council members members of the public who might have some questions. So I'll leave it at that.
Thank you, Councilman Welker. Are there other council members who may have questions?
I'm not sure if it's a question or a comment. I'm just wondering the need for an outside entity to be used for this. I think we have a highly competent finance director in Sarah. I think she's perfectly capable of creating a dedicated fund, so the money is still only spent on the Russell Center. If there's questions between the difference in the Inovia and Sarah working on that, I guess I need to know that. Thinking it would be a change, no management fee from Inovia, it would save money for the city. I do note that Stapleton is on the Leadership Council. Wondered if that's any conflict of interest. Again, noting that I am newly elected and sitting up here today when I was not really expecting to, those would have been my comments. So if that leads to questions, I'm happy to have somebody ask a question or.
Thank you, Councilman Duquette. I've got a couple questions that you've identified, and what I intend to do here is just go through the council questions and then try to summarize them for Ms. Stapleton and Ms. O'Quinn and Dig and our attorneys where appropriate. Are there any other council questions related to this request?
May I make a comment, Mr. Mayor? Would it be helpful if Mrs. Duquette was not prepared for this evening because of the agenda to table all of the agenda items until next week so that she can have the time to prepare as well as talk to legal and talk to Sarah and make sure that both of our counselors have their things in order?
Councilman Dick, I believe you said next week, but do you mean?
Or I'm
the next
sorry,
regularly
yeah,
scheduled
our next
council
council meeting.
member? I think that's a very reasonable request, but I defer to the council. If there's such a support, I would certainly encourage them to make that motion. Except I would interject with Ms. Stapleton and Ms. Quinn and Dig if they would have availability in 2 weeks. Obviously, no.
I
Jennifer.
second.
What I was gonna say, was that a motion to table items that are
I
on
think
the
it's up
agenda?
for discussion.
Oh,
The rest
I
of it-
thought you were
I
making
hear-
a motion.
Because I would second, it would make me.
Just for order of business, if I can respectfully ask the council to, if you'd like to say something, say, Mr. Chairman or Mr. Mayor, I'll recognize you then. It just keeps conversation flowing a lot more clearly. Councilman Aspiro, did I hear a motion? You were thinking of making a motion there?
I thought Justin's was a motion. I'll say.
With regards to that as a motion, I would propose if your intent is to table each of these old business items, please do them one at a time for clarification of the record.
Thank you, Vonda.
Mr. Mayor, that was not a motion. I think I just wanted to pose it for the rest of our counselors to have a discussion before we move forward.
Is there any, well, I'd like to have a motion before we have discussion. Is there a motion to table item 7A to the next regular schedule council meeting?
Yes, I'll make a motion, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, may I make a motion?
Thank you.
The table to the next council meeting.
Is there a second?
Yeah, I'll second.
Any discussion?
No, I'm okay with that.
I will, I think that's a very wise move. I don't get to vote on this, but I think gives everyone adequate time and the ability to review the documents that they weren't expecting to act on. We have a motion by Councilman Spiro, a second by Councilman Schreiber. All those in favor? This is a roll call vote.
I would like to call the roll if we could. Counselor Dick,
Yes.
Counselor Duquette,
Yes.
Counselor Sprow,
Yes.
Counselor Welker,
Yes.
Counselor Schreiber.
Yes.
It's a unanimous decision to table item 7A to the next regularly scheduled council meeting. Moving on, the next on the agenda, council consider Traverse Park Playground and Splash Pad. Final schematic design and approval for the project and to proceed to construction and procurement of equipment and associated amenities. Following the presentation on December 20th, the meeting, this evening, we will have a follow-up presentation on the inclusive play and splash pad survey and an update on the final concept, along with an explanation of the process to date and going forward. Before I yield the floor to Parks Planning Development Manager Maeve of Batar, Councilman Dick, or does any council member, would any council member like to make a motion similar to the last and table this to the next regularly scheduled council meeting?
Yep, so moved.
There's a second, moved by Councilor Dick,
Second.
second by Councilor Spiro. Any discussion?
Mr. Mayor, I would just point out, just one slight concern I have personally is that I know this project is really, there's obviously a lot of passion about it in the community. Personally, my concern is that if we postpone a decision to move forward with construction design, we risk, and we've discussed this extensively at recent meetings as well, that the timeline for this project to be successfully completed in a time frame that our children get to begin using this amazing new amenity is such that if we postpone the construction design phase of this any further, we run the risk of getting into late fall or winter and possibly not getting this playground completed in 2024. So I just want to let councilors know that this is a project that has been going on for the playground specifically about a year now. It was listed under old business because it was old business, and I think a lot of people believe that Councilwoman McAllister should have had the right to have a vote on this matter as well. Tabling it now after the extensive community conversation we've had about it does risk, and I just want to let everybody know, does risk this project not being completed in 2024 because we do have a strict time frame here. We have contractors that we're trying to line up to get this playground installed. It is a playground, a splash pad, and a reconstruction of several of the elements of the old playground. The community engagement in November and October involved over 100 local kids, including here. This is a playground I could enthusiastically say was largely designed by the children of our community. The elements that we were considering in the survey were literally ranked by over 100 local children. So we've received several emails in support of this, including the new council members from advocates for disabled youth in the community. This is an amenity that our community does not have in Sandpoint, has never had. And I'm 100% for moving forward with it in a timely manner. Of course, it was not on the agenda for these new council members to review all of the items for tonight. So I understand the desire to table it, but we are running the risk of not completing it in 2024. And I want the community to know that before we make this decision.
Thank you, Councilman Welker. Councilman Spiro.
I wholeheartedly agree with that, and I appreciate those comments, Councilman Welker. So just want to let that for the record.
Thank you, Councilman
And
Spiro.
Mr. Mayor, I did neglect the construction schedule. I think Jason brings up some great points, and I would rescind my motion to table this particular item.
This is my first rodeo, just a moment. There's a motion to rescind the original motion. I'm going to lean on my wonderful helpers out there. Motion to rescind, that requires a second, or do we go?
If your second wishes to rescind, the motion is.
I rescind.
Was it seconded?
Yeah, I seconded it.
Oh, you did? Okay.
Yes.
So Councilman Spiro rescinded the second. The motion's been withdrawn. Which brings us back to where we're at, which is I now yield the floor to Parks Planning and Development Maeve Levitar. Am I saying that correctly, Maeve?
No, Mr. Mayor, it's Maeve Nevins Louter. The
Louter.
V sounds like a U, but
Thank you.
close.
All right, Maeve, have at it.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, and welcome new counselors. It's an exciting evening here to have you. And tonight I'm joined by Mike Terrell, my landscape architect for the Traverse Park Inclusive Playground and Splash Pad. And we're going to present the follow-up from the public outreach that we've been doing, as well as from the survey, and then share with you the final concept design. Hi, Mike, welcome. Mike's controlling the screen, so. Okay, so a reminder of the outreach that we've been doing, as Councilman Welker mentioned, we've been working on this for over a year. And previous to this, there was a design in the Parks and Rec 2020 master plan, and that did receive over 2 years of outreach. And so building on that, we picked up the design in the fall of 2022, and it started with the Traverse Park master plan. And we developed that based on the James E. Russell Sports Center. So we worked around the building and worked with the constraints of what we had within the site. At the time when we were doing that master plan, the James E. Russell building, it was identified that there may potentially be a future building or a larger rec center in that area. So we had been preserving that site throughout the planning efforts of this particular project for the playground. So in previous renditions, you've seen a space held for that. And Mike will get into how we heard the public today and we modified the design based on the removal of that building because we don't believe that it would be a viable project in the future. But no decisions, of course, have been made. We just made recommendations today. And then we went on and we've had an inclusive play workshop this past spring, and where we brought in professional educators from the manufacturing community who particularly Jill Moore, she is a Paralympian and an advocate and also a professional expert in the playground design world, and came here and spoke. And then we had a workshop at the existing Traverse Park playground to understand what were the barriers for inclusivity. And then we went through the whole process of applying for the Land Water Conservation Grant. And through that process, there was a concept that was developed based on various input conversations and meetings and surveys that we had. And then it was tabled. Basically, the project was on hold throughout the summer while we were waiting to see if we received the official notification of the grant, and we did receive it. And so we learned this past October that we received the grant. And then that triggered us moving from concept design into something called schematic design, which is a more refined level of that concept. And to do that, Mike and his team and our staff held the My Dream Playground workshop, but also during the day before they held the workshop, they visited a number of schools in the area and met with middle school and elementary school students. And then that following evening, we had over 100 families here, and folks participated in the My Dream workshop exercise. That fed into the survey and the concept design that then Mike's team developed. And from that survey and design, we worked on refining the concept based on the feedback we've heard over the last few weeks. They just closed the survey just on, I think it was Monday. Was that correct, Mike? Yes, so they kept it open as long as possible. And we received over 270 comments on the survey. And we presented at the December 20th, our concept at the time. And now we're back for the final presentation. So what you're going to see tonight is the final schematic design based on all of that feedback. And since a couple of you are new, I want to give you some backstory on why we're on this timeline. We are trying to construct this summer. And the reason is that the prices for construction are going up between 10 and 15% every 3 months. And I'm currently in construction with Traverse Park, as you know, and we're just seeing the costs continually going up on both materials and labor. And we've just seen a recent increase since October to just now. So we are driven by keeping this project within the budget that we estimated over a year ago. So when we applied for the grant, for the Land Water Conservation Grant, we applied for the grant in January of 2023. So here we are a year later, and that pricing was based on pricing from January of 2023. And so you can imagine tack on a 30% at least increase just starting there. So we are planning for that, and we did have a contingency built into our budget. However, there is a cost advantage by building this summer because we have crews that are out there, and it's very likely that they will bid on this project and will get lower costs for construction because there's an order of magnitude when companies have already mobilized. There's a very high chance that we could receive benefits from that. In addition, I'm trying to order the equipment as soon as possible. So we will be able, hopefully after tonight or within the next few weeks, be able to decide what equipment we want. Doesn't mean that the design is totally final yet. They're still fleshing out the construction drawings, which, as you know, are where they actually figure out the details and how to build it. And there will probably be some changes from this concept design that you're going to see tonight to that construction stage, but the equipment will be decided on. per our contract with the Land Water Conservation Fund, we need to bid all of this work. And it's also needs to follow the Buy America guidelines, which means that pricing is already higher based on the Buy America guidelines. And we know that because we have recent bid tabs from other projects. And so by doing, breaking the playground equipment out and doing something called owner provided, that means that the city, our procurement team, can go ahead and put it out to bid, and we can buy off of these lists that are out there, the government procurement lists. And those are already vetted. They've already done their bidding, if you will, on the equipment. So that means that the city would get the best price for this. Plus, we don't have to lose money to the markup that a contractor would do, because typically a contractor will tack on another 10% at a minimum to the equipment. And so it's called owner provided, and that gives us some cost savings. So that's what I'm hoping to do tonight, is to be able to get the approval to move forward with purchasing the equipment, as well as having Mike and his team move forward with the construction documents. The intent is that we would come back when we're ready to go to bid, and we would request at that time to move forward with the bid once we have the contractor and all of that stuff. So there's still another step, although at that point we would be pretty much done with the design and it would be going out to bid. So that's where we are with things. As we've heard from the community and through our survey, we know that there's several experts in the community, particularly as it relates to disabilities and what the requirements are. We fully intend to flush these construction drawings through our local experts, as well as experts within the playground design community who are even more advanced than we are. Keep in mind, collectively, I'd say we probably have collectively about 30+ years of experience in the playground development world on this team. So we have a very experienced team that's been keeping up with their continuing education all along, myself included. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Mike to tell you about the best part of this presentation, which is the design. Thank you.
Thanks, Maeve.
Thanks, Maeve. Mayor, members of the council. I'm Mike Terrell, landscape architect with MTLA, Liberty Lake, Washington. What I'm going to do is start off with a little bit of the changes we've done to the master plan, modifying it based upon things that we've heard not only basically back in December, but also through the survey process that was recently completed on the 1st. One of the things that we've done is that we have moved the relocated playground, portions of the existing playground up to the north to get it further away from the parking lot. So the layout is the Russell Sports Center currently under construction here. The parking lot, it remains in this point. There's a sidewalk connection going to the existing softball fields, and it's and so the relocated shelter is going to be about 100 feet from the parking lot, and then the new playground splash pad will be located, and then the relocated playground to the north of that. So we've shifted things around to give some more breathing room between the playground and the parking lot and maintain some green space on that end as well. Just what I want to do is give kind of bring us all up to speed on where we've been. One of the things that we did very early on in the process is we identified 4 themes for the playground through the planning process, starting with Into the Woods, Sandpoint Stories, Splash and Rapids, which is the splash pad component of the playground, and then the existing play structure and swing relocation, which, as I noted, is moving to the north. Into the Woods is really a nod to the beautiful and iconic natural areas around Sandpoint, the creeks and the streams and the woods, and maintaining that and bringing that into the playground and integrating that with the play experience for the community. The Sandpoint Stories is integrating some elements of historic Sandpoint in terms of relationship between the Russells and Patrick McManus stories, so that we intersperse some of the play elements with elements that are uniquely Sandpoint, making this a Sandpoint playground and splash pad and unique to Sandpoint and such that you won't see it anywhere else. As Maeve noted early on last year, we talked about inclusive play principles. And one of the things that inclusive play goes beyond the Americans with Disabilities Act. It creates opportunities for adults and children and folks of all abilities to have equitable use on the playground, flexibility in use. The equipment and the play structures can be used in a lot of different ways. Things that are simple and intuitive so that depending on your ability, you can understand how that you're supposed to use the equipment. Perceptible information is really important as well, is that so you can understand what the playground is about. Tolerance for error is a really important component, not only for all ages and all abilities, but also for children, small children to rebound from a fall where they're testing their abilities and they fall on a safety surfacing, and the safety surfacing protects them from getting hurt. Much different than what we grew up with, where we had swings on gravel and swings on asphalt. The next portion is low physical effort and making sure that we have opportunities for low physical effort. That doesn't mean that everything is low physical effort, but there's opportunities for all levels of effort, and then size and space for approach and use so that you can approach a particular piece of equipment, understand how you're to interact with it, and then utilize it with people of all ages and all abilities as well. Then a really quick summary, the matching funds. The bottom line is the total, including the matching funds from the Land and Water Conservation Grant, is $1,122,336. We're working really hard to work through the design process, even at this early point, to make sure that we stay within budget. And as Maeve noted, it's really important to maintain, to understand that as time goes on, prices are going up. And so identifying playground equipment early on through collaboration with the community and getting that ordered so that we can lock in those prices is a really important component on maintaining control of the costs, and having the owner provide those controls not only the cost, but also controls delivery so that we can get things delivered, so that we can maintain the construction schedule once that is determined and the approval to go forward is made. Design process has been really exciting and really fun. We had a great time with the schools and over 80 children doing the My Dream Playground workshops. We had a tremendous response from the kids, and setting up in city council chambers was probably one of my favorite experiences, where we had children coming in and bringing their parents to an open house, which we don't always get, to show their parents their artwork and what their dream playground was all about, and then having that conversation continue on in the community open house. Then we are moving through equipment and layout design. Then we'll go through, we're in schematic design right now. We have a lot of input through the survey, and we'll touch on that a little bit with the schematic design. We've got a lot of work to do to turn that schematic design into construction document design and design development, and then final design, bidding, and construction. So there's in looking at the process, we're very early in the process, but there's some critical timelines that we need to meet as we move forward. And I'm going to briefly go through these. I know I shared these results earlier. Nature play, I'm just going to hit the highlights. Nature play is a really important component of what both the children and the community wanted to see at the open house, as opposed to some theme play. And we're seeing that kind of feedback follow through in the survey as well. In terms of what the kids would like to do, zip line was by far number one, and then spinning and climbing with swings and slides noted as well. In the open house, again, the zip line response was really high as well. Then how do you like to splash in terms of getting feedback on how the splash pad is designed, having interactive features, things that they can manipulate, things that they can shoot water at other children, dumping features. There's a lot of reference to other splash pads that the children have been involved in, where a dumping feature, it starts to fill and you know what's happening, and then it dumps water on you so that you can expect it, but there's a interaction with that in terms of the sound and the opportunity to get a big splash in one spot. And then what would you like to do in the new playground? Again, zip line was very high on the list. Again, the zip line carried forward again at the community open house. Then we put a survey out on December 15th. And we ran it till the 1st of January, just a few days ago. And so we're in the process of trying to evaluate all the feedback that we've got in the survey. There were some rankings. There's a tremendous amount of responses that are in paragraph form and word form that have given us a lot of information in which to move forward as well. In terms of ranking in the Sandpoint stories component, trees were number 1, 0 to 4 play structure was number 2, ground level inclusive play elements was number 3, having benches for adults and especially seniors started to come out in the comment section as well. The relocated shelter is in there, and story enclosure, playhouse, bear in the attic, inclusive merry-go-round, and poured and play surfacing. And one of the things I want to do, just take a minute to talk about poured and play surfacing. There are many levels of surfacing that are available for playgrounds that meet the requirements to keep children safe. Poured and play surfacing is an integral surfacing that is much like a thicker version of what is on synthetic tracks. And it is a cushion that stays put. And one of the things that we found in a lot of cases is that it responds better to climates where you have snow and ice, whereas surfacing like engineered wood fiber gets water in it and then freezes, and it's hard to clear, and it's not as safe when you have different climate factors. So that's one of the things that we've included in there. And it's also very easy to maneuver around, not only with wheelchairs, but with other mobility devices as well. So again, the Splash and Rapids, it's really interesting what kids like. And the kids, when we talk to the schools, really like the spray tunnels because they could envision themselves going under them as well. Surfstone spray features, and we've got those located off. We've got some separate areas. We've got the main portion of the splash pad, and then a smaller area where smaller children don't have to be right in the middle of all the activity, but they can be in an area where there's a little bit of water going on, and kind of gauge what they want to, their involvement. There were some comments about what a sling soaker spray feature is. It's actually a bigger feature that stands tall. And this is much like a dumping bucket. The sling, it's not something that the kids can move or manipulate. The ones that kids can move and manipulate are the aqua juggle and the owl spray and the raccoon spray. And I will say that those are just some items that are used as reference if we choose to go a different direction than those, but we want to have something that kids can manipulate to spray. That's an important thing as well. So into the woods is some more natural areas that moves forward to the north. What we have, and this is all associated with what we were surveying, and so this has not changed based upon what we received the survey, but this is how the survey goes. There's 2 zip lines, one that is an accessible inclusive line, and then one that is a standard line. And one of the feedbacks we got from the kids is that they could race on it, but there's also a note of collaboration that has to happen with with the zip line, you need to take the zip line back to the next person in line. So there's cooperation. So there's a lot of things that happen in playgrounds that are really important for the development of children. So the existing trees to remain, we have a couple of trees that are remaining, so we're working around those. Adding a weeping willow, which we've heard a number of different ways. The loss of the weeping willow was really an important issue for the community, and so we're taking that and we're suggesting adding a weeping willow back into the park, creating a sledding hill, woodland fort, creating that kind of woodland atmosphere, more natural equipment as well. And then the zip line is not ranking very well with the community in the survey, but I'm pretty certain that not a lot of 5 to 12-year-olds are answering the survey. So that's one of the things that we're balancing in terms of what the feedback that we get from the community. And then the relocated playground, the swings were high, the play elements were high, adding a disc swing. There were some negative comments about the cone spinner and also the sunrise vine, the way it looks. And so we've taken those. And so one of the things we're looking at is, the idea is to have something that's natural and climb, but can we do that with something different that looks a little bit different?
Mr. Mayor, quick question, Mike, that last slide, I just want to confirm that the location of the relocated playground is not as we see on this slide in the updated plan. Is that correct?
That's correct. And so this is the results of what I'm showing is the results of the survey.
Gotcha. So when the survey was completed, we hadn't relocated, we hadn't moved that to the north.
That's correct. And I'll dive into that here shortly as well.
Thank you.
So thank you for the segue. Number one on the list, relocated playground shifted to the north. And so that's, these are the kind of the top 6 things that we have sifted through in the last couple of days with the results of the survey. An additional climber in the relocated playground, delete the spinner. That was some feedback we got as well. New playground is 100 feet from the existing parking area. Would point out that we got a lot of feedback, concern about synthetic turf safety surfacing. We're not proposing synthetic turf safety surfacing. We do have a natural grass component, and I'll show you where that is. So there's real grass and a hill. And then some playground elements from true logs, not logs made from concrete, because that's some of the feedback we got as well. And then some concerns about what the fencing is, and so we're suggesting that maybe in terms of trying to meet the needs and concerns of some folks within the community about controlling kids that need to have boundaries, a green fence with vines to soften it to make it look more natural. And so that's one of the things that we pulled out. There's probably literally 500 other comments that we have to go through, but those are the top ones that we felt that we could address here tonight.
Mr. Terrell.
So
this is
yes, sir.
You do this all over the country, I imagine, and all year long. Is that correct?
Yes, sir.
Is it this sort of survey and feedback? Is it typical that it's only 2 weeks long, and is it unusual that might occur over a holiday period?
The surveys end up being, timing is different on everything depending on when the process needs to be. Sometimes it's even worse if you're trying to get feedback during the summer because people are on vacation. So I would say we had over 1,000 views, which is pretty significant, and we had 270 unique responses, which is actually pretty good for 2 weeks.
Mr. Terrell, you mentioned there's 500 comments or 500 other elements that need to be reviewed or implemented into the design. Can you clarify that?
Well, so we had open comments that allowed people to have a specific comment, not ranking. And so we need to go through and spend some time kind of sorting through those and categorizing them and then moving forward with that. And so since the survey just closed on Monday, we haven't had a time to adequately kind of sift through them and see if there were some trends that we may be missing within those comments. But I would say that the six items I talked about are ranking very high within the comments.
Thank you, Mr. Terrell. I'll let you continue, recognizing that there's a whole room full of people out there who probably want to speak or proceed, and council has some comments. Just ask that you be as succinct as possible as you proceed on the rest of your presentation. Thank you.
Mike, you're on mute.
Oh, you didn't like that.
Mike, we can't hear you. Now you're muted again. Try it again, maybe?
There we go.
Nope. We've lost him.
Oh, that's what that button does.
I can.
You want to try
present.
redial them in? Or?
Sure. I'll present. Mike's controlling the screen, so I'll just call him out to switch the slide and I'll just describe what we see. So what you're looking at here is the overall playground design intent, and this is more of the refined design. You can see the fence, what they were talking about with the vines, the bear in the attic and the Patrick McManus stories, that's repeated in the Sandpoint stories, and that came through again. And then the interactive play is the splash area. There is an added loop path around it because we received quite a bit of feedback that parents and seniors too wanted to be able to walk around the entire perimeter. And it provides an opportunity to connect to the rest of the park as well. So it's a good connector path. And then there is the tactile component to the rapids. And while it won't look just like a real rapid, it will be tactile and sensory. And then we heard quite a bit of feedback and support for the nature play areas Mike had mentioned. Mike, you want to try the next slide and see if we can hear you? No, we can't hear you. Next slide, please. All right, I'm gonna, if you can unshare, I can take over. Or just.
Do you have that presentation, Maeve, on you right now?
I'm gonna
You do.
pull it up right now. And I will share my
There's-
screen. Mike needs to undo it.
And maybe I just ask because it strikes me as I sit here that if I suddenly pass, we have not elected a council president. And maybe we should. Oh, they're live. Never mind.
Apologize for the technical difficulty. Not sure what's happening.
Council members, why Maeve and Mike get that reset? I understand there's always technical challenges. Do I hear a motion for us to jump to new business item number 10 so we can elect a council president and then come back to them in the efficiency of time, and just in case I have a stroke or something right now, you know.
You're planning on having a heart attack?
Never know.
I'm not sure what's going on. It keeps.
We've two mics now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
On
And we
off.
still have, Mr. Mayor, time for comments and questions.
Yeah, I would intend to return to this once they get set up. I can't imagine election of council president be a lengthy.
Mr.
item.
Mayor, I second.
You have to.
I make a motion to move on to item agenda 10.
Yeah.
Where is it at?
AAS, new business number 10.
Yep, new business, A10, to elect the city council president.
Second.
Motion was made by Councilman Spiro, second by Councilman Dick. All
Mike,
those,
can you share your screen?
any concerns with legal about jumping around like that, or Jennifer? No.
Take a roll call vote on that.
Mhm.
Is there a roll call vote to jump to item number 10, then return to item number 7B?
I'll call that roll, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you.
Councilman Schreiber,
Yes.
Counselor Duquette,
Yes.
Counselor Dick,
Yes.
Counselor Welker,
Yes.
Counselor Sprow.
Yes.
It seems like it was unanimously move to new business item number 10, the election of council president For the first item under this new business, we will elect a council president who is responsible for carrying out the duties and requirements of Idaho Code and Sandpoint City Code, including presiding over city council meetings in the mayor's absence and otherwise acting on behalf of the mayor in his absence as authorized. At this time, I would call for a nomination. And I guess the way I'd like to do this is hear nominations and then discussion and then members of the public. We can go as you wish at that point. At this point, are there any nominations for council president?
Mr. Mayor. Yeah, I'd like to make a motion to nominate Councilman Welker to be council president. Over the years working with him, he's proven to me to be a good leader and well-versed in the city, especially beyond planning and zoning. So I'd feel comfortable doing that personally.
Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved by Councilman Spiro, second by Councilman Dick, to nominate Councilman Welker as the council president. Are there any other nominations? Hearing none. Is there any discussion?
I appreciate your nomination, Joel, and I'd be honored to serve as the council president. So thank you for your support.
I have comments, if I may.
Comment, discussion, you recognize Councilman Duquette.
I was hoping that it would be the most senior counselor who would take that position. I am in favor of keeping good relationships on the council, which is why I would not oppose that. I am hoping that as head of POP, if that ever came before you sitting in that seat, you would recuse yourself because
I always have.
you have, I know, I'm
Yeah.
just saying, I feel like I need to get my comments,
Yeah.
if you don't mind.
Absolutely.
And that you will respect the position of mayor and the rest of us as well.
Are those all your comments, Council?
I think so. Thank you.
Thank you for your comments. Any other comments or discussion in the council? Hearing none, I see this as a purview of the council. I'm gonna move us into a vote. We have a motion and a second. Madam Clerk, please conduct a roll call vote for Councilman Welker as president of the council.
Counselor Sprow,
Yes.
Counselor Welker,
Yes.
Counselor Dick,
Yes.
Counselor Schreiber,
Yes.
Counselor Duquette.
Yes.
Congratulations, Councilman Welker, sorry.
Jeremy,
Our
I've
new
known you
council
for
president.
7 years, buddy.
I know.
You a little nervous?
Well, there's a lot to think about. Congratulations.
Thank you.
Look forward to working with you. How are we doing, Maeve?
We're back on.
Okay.
Thank you.
Council members, I'm not sure if I need a motion, but at this point, I would like to move back to council item agenda 7B. Anyone in favor, please move.
Mr. Mayor, your previous motion included handling 10 and then going back, so you
Okay,
don't need an
excellent.
additional motion.
Excellent. We are back at item number 7B, Drivers Park Playground Splash Pad final design. Take it away, Maeve.
Thank you. Sorry for that. I'm not sure Zoom's doing its thing. Mike, it looks like you're back. Can we test your volume?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can. So I can control the slide now and you can continue speaking. We can hear you.
Okay. My apologies for that glitch. You never know. So what we've got is showing the Into the Woods section, which we talked a little bit about, then the natural grass area to the north, and then that transitions to the north with the relocated playground. And so we've got a natural grass hill. We've got the zip line, a climbing structure, which we're showing now is being real wood, which is part of the feedback that we received as well. And on the eastern side or the far right side is a spinner, which is really important component. It provides an opportunity for multiple kids to be involved in a single piece of equipment. And then, as I noted before, poured in place surfacing, which is a solid impact attenuating surfacing that kids can roll their wheelchairs on, and various other mobility devices can easily move back and forth. And one of the other important components of having port and place surfacing is with a splash pad. We'd have challenges with like engineered wood fiber, the wood fiber component getting onto the splash pad, and this provides, maintains a clean surface. So Maeve, next slide. And then the splash pad, I got into those details as well. Again, fine tuning the pieces of equipment to rank, to design the highest ranking elements, and then looking at the other feedback we've got to try and fine tune what they actually look like as well. So next slide. And then again, I talked about Sandpoint stories. One of the areas that we've got is the area just north of the shelter. We have a lot of work to do in the design, and that area is something that we look forward to working with various members of the community to kind of dial that detail in and get a really good sense of what that's going to look like. So there is additional design work that needs to happen as well. Next slide.
Sure, Mike, I just wanted to add that the bear in the attic, you had mentioned that that would be intended for the younger toddlers, and it would be a climbing feature for them. So just so the community understands that that's more intended for the younger kiddos.
Yes, absolutely. And that section, so, and that's one of the feedbacks that we got from the community as well, is that providing areas for the 0 to 5 children to play and not have to be right in the middle of the older kids. And so that's one of the things that we've done in zoning the playground, so that we can have the younger kids in an area closer to the shelter, and then opportunities for the bigger kids in other places. That doesn't mean the little kids aren't going to cover the whole playground, but we'll give them an opportunity to be comfortable in portion of the playground near where their parents might be at the shelter, for instance. And then the relocated playground to the north, we've got that area to the north, and it'll be be a little bit different. The swings, one of the things we've created it so the swings are in an area where we won't have conflicts with children running back and forth, and it'll be pretty active as well. And so we're still working through the details on, for instance, the log climber that we replaced the spinner based upon feedback in the survey as well. So next slide.
I do want to say in regards to the relocated playground, we had originally intended that would be relocated and reconstructed immediately when we first mobilized to the site for the Travers James E. Russell building. But while that was occurring, we simultaneously won the award for this grant. So we decided to see what else we could do to make that relocated equipment more unified with the playground. At the same time, the contractor expressed that it would be a hazard if they were to open it, that they could build it. And they asked, if we were sure we really wanted it built. And we said, well, we're actually in the middle of this final design. So if we're only going to open it for 2 weeks before winter, does it really make sense? And this was literally going on this fall when we got all of that snow. And it didn't make sense at the time to force this relocated playground to be constructed. So we do apologize. We know that the intent was that this was supposed to be up so that the children had some place to play this winter. But the intent going forward and the way that it's designed right now, it's still pieced off from the rest of the playground. So it will still get constructed first. And we're still moving forward to this, and then they'll be able to access this right away this spring as soon as the fire lane that you see is constructed. That's how they'll access it. So we'll be able to partition it off with its own fencing while the rest of the playground gets constructed. At least that's how things are supposed to play out. It doesn't always work out perfectly, but that's always the intent. Okay. Next slide.
So clearly the next steps are to refine the design, continue to work with the community, sift through the survey responses, and get some, pull some more additional information out of those responses to make sure that we're reflecting kind of the desires of the community as much as possible. And as Maeve noted earlier, city would purchase the equipment once we've decided on what that equipment is. been bidding construction. Part of the bidding of the construction includes demolition of the existing restroom facility. And then if everything works out right, starting construction in the summer, and then with the goal to open for play in the fall of 2024. As far as timing goes, I've tried a number of times on splash pads to open them in the summer, and we almost always are not making it. So the goal would be to have kids playing in the splash pad and playing in the playground, by Memorial Day of next year. So with that, any questions that you might have, I'm ready to answer them.
When you say next year, Mike, do you mean 2025 or do you mean 2024?
Well, the split 25, the splat, if we're constructing, it is unlikely that we're going to open the splash pad in time for it to be warm enough to use this year. So, if things worked out really well, we could, but I suspect we'll be opening a splash pad in like Memorial Day of 25.
Council, any discussion?
I have plenty, if I
Councilman,
may. I was prepared for this as a citizen to comment on. So it will be no surprise to the council that I am always concerned about community outreach. I know you list everything that's done, 80 kids. When I led tree tours at Kinnickinnick Park with kids from the schools, there were 90 kids just in the 3rd grade at Farman. 80 kids is a small assortment of kids. It was wonderful to do that. I think it's awesome. I'm a former teacher. The kids loved that. I know that was great. I always go back to, have we got community backing? The design is so well designed. I commend you. The inclusivity is something definitely has been needed for the underserved population. I commend all of that. Again, where are the comments? You haven't gone through them yet. I would like to see them. I know that Ms. Tweeten shared with, at least on her agenda for Tuesday's planning and zoning, she had all the pages, all the comments, and that they were noted or changed. That's what I feel disadvantaged right now at. I do not get to see those. Community input is the most important thing to me right now. Traverse Park has been a kind of a nightmare for the community. I hate to see it continue. I guess I'm wondering how we go ahead today and okay this when you're talking about, you're still going to look at the comments. You still want to put things together. How can you decide on the equipment if we don't know what's going on? Also, the beginning of this was during COVID, another time where that was hard to get interest in surveys. I do remember the survey for Traverse Park, but it was just, what do you like to do at Traverse Park? It did not really have anything to do with this. I have been following this. Mike, you've done a great job. I sat at home this morning and rewatched your whole presentation. So as a citizen, I could comment on this. The surfacing, I checked out all the surfacing. I wish you had explained that, because I bet a lot of the questions on the survey was surfacing. Nobody wants the plastic, but I see that this is a rubber. I did see that they said in cold climates, at least the one I looked at, it could harden and break. I still don't see any of the old playground equipment. I've seen it behind a fence, which is to me not good to see taxpayer dollars equipment piled in a mess behind a fence. We have other playgrounds. Some of that hopefully could have been used at, if not at this one. I know the public did ask for some to be put here. City Beach has no swings anymore. I see a lot of money being spent on this. I know it's going to be this iconic playground. I really want to see us get it right this time. I don't see how we can go ahead and okay this design if there's still comments to be gone through. decisions to be made. People did not like the survey. They feel like they weren't given an option to add or have alternatives. All they were given was a list of what's already chosen and you prioritize it. I'm just listening, and as that was me as a citizen, as an elected official, what I feel disadvantaged at right now to okay this is I don't have a chance now to see the comments, to see where they're included, and then to go out into the community. Again, I will say, we need to reach the community where they are. We can't always expect them to come to us and see these grand ideas, because this is incredible. It will be amazing. I just, again, don't feel like it's, I still feel like we're going too quick. I know it's been years. Deb's Councilwoman Rule's request, she asked for a link at the junior high and the high school for them to take the survey. I'm not sure if that was done. Was that done? Just because there's all ages of children that enjoy the playground. And one more quick comment, sorry. The splash pad. It's expensive. I have an issue with a splash pad. We have 9,000 acres of splashing water. I know it's for the little kids, maybe something different, a smaller facility. I see in the winter that's unusable, and the maintenance of that in the winter with concrete. Those are my concerns. And I know that you guys are really into this, and I'm not poo-pooing it. Again, I would just like to see it done just like everybody wants. I know you can't please everybody, but thank you very much for moving the playground up.
Councilwoman Duquette, and council members, the way I love to handle this, at least as a trial, is go through your comments and then let Maeve and Mike sort of coalesce and respond to them. So hopefully they can keep track of these. And Councilwoman Duquette, I have your concerns concerns and comments about public feedback, additional surveys. You'd like to see those before moving into final design or design. You're concerned about the public outreach, and you have concerns about the splash element. Did I get all that? All right.
Probably.
Any other council comments on this at this point?
I guess I'm just wondering what a couple weeks will do to ordering.
We'll put that on
Okay.
as number 7, delay impact. Oh, you're fine. And council members, I know this will take some getting used to. My intent on discussion is to allow each council member to discuss and present their issues and concerns prior to a secondary bite at the apple. So I'll try to go through and let everyone speak first, and then we'll come back a second time. Any other council members who have like to discuss or make comments or have questions on this item?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes, Councilman Trevor.
First off, I want to thank staff, and I was able to meet Mike and his team at the workshop, and that was great. I feel like we're in really good hands with his team. And I love to see the inclusivity aspect of it, as well as, features that appeal to everyone in the community. And maybe, I'm new to this, so maybe I didn't get the whole packet, but did we get a list of equipment that we're purchasing?
No, not yet. It hasn't been finalized. This is a schematic, so these are suggestions. And then the next step is Mike will figure out exactly what the pieces are, and then we'll work on doing that. So typically what they do is they'll say, we want a climber that's 5 feet tall, XYZ colors. And then when you put it out to bid, you'll get something close to what you want, and you can give them an image, but you won't always get exactly what you want because we have to pick the lowest bidder.
Sure.
So.
And is there going to be another chance for the public to speak about that other than the public forum the day that we vote on it?
At this point, we hadn't planned on that. If that's something that council desires, we certainly can do that.
Yeah, that's definitely something that I would like to see is, at least a better, more focused design, and then take that out to the public and get their opinion on it. And in fact, I'd even love to see 2 or more alternatives that people could give comments on. And I understand the concerns about the timeline, but I'd echo Ms. Duquette's response that at the very best case scenario, this is gonna be finished right when snow flies. So worst case scenario, it's still gonna be done by summer of 25. And I think it's much more important for us to get this right than for us to get it right now. So yeah, I would like to ask for a little bit more detail about what we're agreeing to, and, you know, take that out to the public and bring the public along with this.
Thank you, Councilman Schreiber. I think those are great points that you raise, and I think we should discuss them once we hear all the additional questions that might be out there. Any other questions that arise, council members? No.
Mr. Mayor, Maeve, if I understand correctly, it's go back or see what we get from the bids, have a couple different options, maybe bring that to the public, and then have another town hall meeting of the sort. Is that what you're saying, Kyle? I just want to make sure I understand.
Yeah, and I'm open to discussion at what that looks like. I just don't want the next time we talk about this to be a take it or leave it, vote on this now. You guys should have spoken up sooner kind of issue.
Yeah. Yeah, 'cause I mean, it's right now it's, oh, you guys are taking too long. I mean, no matter what you do, you sometimes don't win. Maeve, can you speak to your expertise on what maybe we're asking? Is that pretty difficult? What does that look like for us, it's easy to tell you to do stuff, but from your standpoint, how difficult or how easy will that be?
Certainly. So there's two things that I heard. First, it sounds like everyone wants options on the playground equipment. Then also there's the potential for multiple concepts. If we took the approach of developing multiple concepts, that's a more robust design process that we didn't originally allocate for in our budget. We have already done a couple of renditions. So we are already at, gosh, Mike, what are we at? The 4th or 5th round of revising this, because we started it a year ago. So we started with something similar and very vague, and now we've been honing it down and honing it down. Yeah. So what we just experienced with the survey and where we went from this last step of public input to now is we were in the refinement stage of selecting that equipment, and we were getting down to, do you want a spinner versus a climber? What's your priority? And so then, what we could do is come back with different options. A lot of times in my experience, we would say, okay, so these are the different types of spinners. This is what we think the costs are going to be. And you could pick the colors and things like that. So there is a really fun part of that. And maybe that would be something, it would be great if we could receive feedback today on this general schematic concept, and if we're in the right direction, or if you're asking us to go back to the drawing board and come up with something totally new, that's more robust, and there will be an added cost that wasn't originally budgeted. I will also remind you that the prices are increasing for construction, and I just did bids, so 15% was what I saw from October 27th until just last week. So just a warning that there's going to be a cost implication to delaying the project. That means we won't be able to get as much stuff or as much square footage. So it's about $20 to $32 per square foot for the surfacing, depending on what type of surfacing we use. So you can imagine that we'll have to reduce the size. So just keeping that in mind, it's not a no by any means, but that's the implication.
Council members, it seems like it might be helpful for you to hear from the public. Before you further, we've identified some questions, some concerns, thought had some really good discussion about what ifs and implications. Does anyone object to hearing from the public at this time before you further your discussions? I think it would be helpful. Are there any members of the public who would like to comment on this item? If so, I think you understand you need to give a sign-up sheet to the clerk or to staff in the back of the room, and then you can proceed as called. Anyone on Zoom, Madam Clerk?
Mr. Mayor, I do have someone signed up here in the room for this item, Molly McCann.
Okay.
Molly McCann for the record. I feel like my thoughts aren't completely clear on this based on the confusion around the agenda. But I'm disappointed that the motion was rescinded. I think we all know that 2 weeks is not putting this project at risk in any way from being done in 2024. I agree with Mr. Schreiber. It will likely take longer. So I believe that was a disingenuous argument and unfair to the public. And I think there are enough changes in the presentation tonight with the moving the playground farther back, natural grass discussed, that we were not well informed enough to be making a decision on this at this moment in time, you as a board. But in reality, I think this needs a longer delay than 2 weeks. I think there was not, this was not adequately thought out from the beginning, as you know. I feel that way. But I want you to seriously consider keeping Traverse Park as an exclusively outdoor park and preserve the entire 2 acres as open green space. Adding an all-inclusive play structure with proper handicapped access would be a very valued addition to this community. That has never, ever been in doubt. Please go back to the drawing board and redesign the new playground to lie within those 2 acres that are still open of green space. I've added here to use natural grass only, no artificial turf, and set the playground back at least 500 feet or 50 feet, excuse me, off the parking lot. It sounds like you've done that, but that does not change my view that there should not be a building in that park, period. Thank you for your time.
Thank you, Ms. McCann.
Mr. Mayor, I'm going to check Zoom one moment. Rebecca Holland.
Hello, Ms. Holland.
Hi, Council. Hi, Mayor.
Go ahead.
Well, first, I am very happy to see that the planners addressed the location issue. That was going to be close to the parking lot and moving it back for a better safety buffer. That was absolutely necessary. And I really agree with the points that Kyle made for a more focused design with another community workshop to look at this before going forward to any construction contracts. I think the excuses being put forward to push and rush seem a bit disingenuous. I too, one thing am very concerned about is our community's red and orange metal playground equipment that's being discarded and piled in 3 different locations there. So far, the only pieces incorporated in this plan are the swings and the plastic climbing hill. And for myself, having spent a great deal of time observing kids at Traverse Park Playground, I can tell you that the 3 slides and the various monkey bars with spinning apparatus were a huge draw for the active kids of our community. And to me, it appears that the focus exclusively on a redesign for the ability of disabled children and toddlers. By doing that, the planners are actually underserving the majority of our local kids who are, for the most part, active and strong and need equipment to challenge their abilities to develop their motor skills. This playground, as it's designed, is not really providing a lot of challenging gear, which actually we already own, and I've seen it estimated at $25,000 to $30,000 worth of value. So why can't we get that all back up? And I'm so glad that whole big playground is getting moved north. And I'd like to mention that I've seen teenagers playing on this equipment. So we're not just talking about the littlest ones. I'm so glad we're looking to help the little ones and kids that need a little extra help. But let's make this a playground like it used to be. Our existing red and orange play equipment was not being asked about in the ranked choice survey. And these plans before council, I think, need to be tabled until we get all of this sorted out. So thank you. Appreciate your time.
Mr. Mayor, that is all who have signed up to. We have, oh, my apologies.
No problem.
I was looking at 7A. We do have quite a few people signed up for 7A.
All right.
Sorry about that.
Really? All right.
Thank you. Next is Hal Gates.
Mr. Gates.
Hal Gates, city resident. I'll echo a lot of the comments that I've heard from council tonight already. Genuinely, thank you for stealing my thunder. I'm glad to see that it's being considered. The thing that concerns me most is about the outreach. By my count, I had 12 days to fill out the survey over a holiday. I became aware of it on the 23rd, not the 18th or the 15th, as we saw in the presentation at various points. A lot of people unplugged during that time. A lot of people who have kids maybe are paying more attention to them than to their social media or email. A lot of people are traveling. I think that we need to consider the context in which the survey was released before we say that the results that we have are definitive. I'm also rather concerned that we're talking about continuing to read comments and continuing to incorporate them as we're having a discussion to approve moving forward with the schematic plan. I'm an engineer. I don't continue to make changes after plans are approved. If we need to make changes, then they need to be reapproved, reconsidered. I would strongly urge you not to make a yes or no decision until all of those comments have been properly considered, and that any other changes that may come from the further comments have been incorporated. Obviously, we saw that the playground needed to be moved further north. Everybody is in favor of that. I'm in favor of that. That was one of the comments that I made. Removing some aspects of the design, some of the features. There may still be some things in the comments that we're still talking about that need to be incorporated into that. I'm glad that we had the opportunity to discuss it tonight. I'm actually glad that we rescinded the motion to table until next week so that we could have this out in the open. But I would urge you, especially given how contentious this issue has been, and especially considering that, again, 2 weeks is really not going to delay the actual opening of the playground to use, that we take the time and do it right, not right now. Thanks.
Thank you, Mr. Gates. Appreciate the comments.
Mary Ann Kramer.
Hi, Ms. Kramer.
Mary Ann Kramer, city residents. And a lot of the questions were answered through your presentation. I really appreciate that. And especially moving that, what was one of my things was moving that playground away from that parking lot. One of the questions I had was how big an area this is. I'm kind of a visual person, so I'm like trying to visualize how big this whole thing is. Because it's, to me, it's like a lot of things in a small space. But that's probably going to be answered here later. There again, I think the idea, I'm all for what you guys are doing. You're doing a great job with designing it. It's just that there seems to be a lot of questions that need to be answered before it's voted on it. So there again, I would ask to table it. I own a business too, and I have to get all my ducks in a row before I, get my client a price, and I can't go back later and start changing things. It's makes people very unhappy. So I firmly agree with the community participation and giving them a little bit of time. That 2 weeks, I think, will be great, and getting people to respond back to what you're trying to do and move forward with it. So that's what's, other than that, a lot of things were answered in the presentation. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks, Ms. Kramer.
Frank Schwab.
Mr. Schwab, are you in the audience still? Out back? He has departed.
Elizabeth Nutter.
Hello, I'm Elizabeth Nutter. I've grown up here in Sandpoint, and it is a wonderful community. And I just really appreciate all of you up here and all the work that has been done to this point. And I just really want to commend the design process and the designers. I think this is going to be a wonderful asset to the community. As a physical therapist, we work with folks who have differences in abilities, and we just think that it's so important that Sandpoint finally has an accessible playground. The pour in place and rubberized surface is actually really important for accessibility, so that not only the children, but parents with disabilities are able to play with their kids. So I'm just here to lend my support, and thank you again for all of your hard work.
Thank you, Ms. Snider.
Tracy Schmidt.
Good evening, Ms.
Hi,
Schmidt.
I'm Tracy Schmidt. I'm not a city resident, but I do live in the county. I'm a pediatric physical therapy specialist and I've been working with children with disabilities in our community for 22 years. I'm urging you to support the new inclusive playground. I'd like you to imagine yourself as a 5-year-old, and instead of taking a couple of months to learn to walk when you're 1, it takes you 4 years. And you're finally able to walk with your walker, and your mom takes you to the playground. You're so excited that you aim for the swings, walk off the sidewalk onto the playground, your front wheels stick in the wood chips, and you do a giant face plant in the middle of the playground. Now imagine you're a mom of a 10-year-old in a wheelchair who weighs over 100 pounds. You just moved to the area and you're excited because there's a ramp to the slide. You push your child over the heaves in the concrete ramp, get to the top where you discover there's no transfer station. Your child's so excited for the slide that you decide to get him on the platform without a transfer station and you drop him. No worries, he's too excited to complain. Then you push him down the slide and he flies off at the end because it wasn't designed to slow a child at the end who couldn't stand up. Now imagine you're a little boy or a little girl and your sibling is in a wheelchair. You love playing at the playground and with your friends, but your sister's wheelchair won't roll through the wood chips and there's nothing for her to do. So your mom decides it's not worth going. Now imagine you're a kiddo who gets bullied at school. You see a child who needs some help at the playground and you try to play with them. Your role has switched from victim to leader. I've seen all of these scenarios played out multiple times at our playground in Traverse Park. The first 3 will be eliminated by the new playground. The last one will be magnified. I overheard an adult saying, "They can just play somewhere else. This is our park." They were right. This is our park, a gem of Sandpoint. Wouldn't it be great if the gem demonstrated how welcoming our community is and how we teach our children to be kind, inclusive, and caring? They will grow up and teach their kids to do the same. Thank you for supporting this oh so important missing piece in our community.
Thank you, Ms. Schmidt.
Chris Owens.
Mr. Owens. Hi.
So I'm Chris Owens, longtime resident. 2024 will be the 100th year since my family first moved to the area. I grew up here enjoying all the water and the green and strong and vibrant. I come from a family of people that worked in the timber industry. I mean, my roots are deep, right? And that's how I ended up in this chair, was in a logging accident. And 14 years ago, the community embraced me and helped me get back on my feet. And I think that's the real identity of Sandpoint. It's not the nostalgia of certain places or how they look, but it's the love and all the support that goes into this community and everything we do to help each other. So I would just hope that some feeling of nostalgia doesn't prevent certain people in the community from embracing those who either now have a difficult life or maybe were born with a difficult life. I have 4 children. most of them, well, they're in high school now, but I spent a lot of time at Traverse Park. I've been in here for, like I said, this chair 14 years. Close to my children, but always from a distance because I couldn't get in there to swing with them. Or if I chose to go in, I better have someone help me get back out because my kids couldn't do it. So like you said, there's lots of green and there's lots of places around for the strong and vibrant people because I used to be one. We have nowhere for the underprivileged. So just as a longtime native, I would encourage to just have this thing to move forward. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Owens.
Beth Wise.
Ms.
Hello.
Wise.
Hello, my name's Beth Wise and I'm a county resident and Chris is my husband. And I am just so pleased that we're going to have this inclusive play, not only from a personal perspective, because it's really hard for me to be the one to get to play with our 7-year-old daughter at the park and leave my husband in the shelter and he can't be with us. And that's what's happened with all 4 of our children. I'm also an occupational therapist and I'd like to say that Maeve was extremely inclusive with our whole staff working on accessibility long before that survey went out, and there has been more community input that has been magnified at this meeting. I've worked with hundreds of families with disabilities and they are all sitting by the sidelines watching their family members play. And we desperately need this to move forward and stop spending time nitpicking about this piece of equipment or this piece of equipment. All of the new equipment is awesome. And Maeve and Mike have developed all of these amazing playgrounds already. No matter what they choose, it is going to be so awesome compared to what we have now. If you've never been to an inclusive playground before, I recommend going. And that's for everybody in this room and everybody in the community, because it is awesome for everyone, not just people with disabilities. When my family visits my family in Ohio, where all the playgrounds are inclusive and the community cares about that kind of design, my husband can have Nerf gun fights with our children and we can play tag and he can push them on the swings. And we need that here. So let's move forward and stop fighting and just get going on something that will be better. No matter what is chosen, everything on Maeve and Mike's list is just going to be amazing. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Wise.
Liz Horseman.
Hi, Ms. Horseman.
Thanks for letting me speak. I actually am not a Sandpoint resident nor Bonner County resident. But I work here every day as an occupational therapist, mainly with pediatric patients. And so I again want to applaud all this effort that Maeve has done and Mike and everyone that's gone into this planning. I think, again, I don't know that people that haven't had their lives impacted by either a physical or like a mental, emotional disability, how much this limits their access to growth and nourishment in our community. I think that I've had multiple families come to me and we have to work on ways to help keep their children safe or help their children access park equipment. So I know that the fencing was not a huge priority on the list there, but I've had multiple patients that can't go to parks because the children get overstimulated and their gut is to bolt, and there's no safety for those kids. And so I think that fence is actually really important. And in addition to wheelchair access, I also think that the pour in place surface also allows children that have coordination issues and vision deficits, have difficulty seeing transitions. That's also super important for those kids too. And so I wish that we would have this park tomorrow. Like, I can't wait for it because when I first started working here, like I would tell my families, like your homework, your therapy is to go to the park, and they couldn't. It just didn't work for them. They couldn't access the stuff there. And so I hope we can get this moving forward. I also agree that I think all the equipment, no matter what it is, no matter what they pick out, is gonna meet their needs. I totally trust their judgment, their expertise. And so I'm so excited. Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Horstman.
Mr. Mayor, that is all who have signed up to speak on this topic.
Thank you, Madam Clerk. Council members, let's bring it back to discussion. We've heard a fair amount from the public. I'll summarize. There's a fair amount of support to proceed. And I think what you're probably balancing here is the similar comment from the public and some of you about just having a little more refinement on the design based on some additional comments and surveys. There's some question of what does the potentially 2-week lag or kicking it into a subsequent mechanism where we can have a midstream or a 60% design based on additional public workshops. How does that affect the timeline? So with that, I again will kick it to council for council discussion. Is there any council discussion?
Mr. Mayor? Yes, I appreciate the comments we heard from everybody tonight. I thought we heard both sides of the issue. I would, this is old business. This is something we've been working on for a year. I think we heard from some key users of the future playground that they have faith in the experts that we employ at the city and the consultants that we hire, who have built between them, I'm sure, dozens of playgrounds like this around the country. I hate to postpone this. It is a year in the making. I'm ready to make a motion that we move this into design construction. And I'd like to know if there's any seconds to that motion.
Second.
It's been moved and moved by Councilman Walker, second by Councilman Spiro to proceed with the construction, design, development for the Travers Playground, inclusive playground splash pad schematic design, and to direct the process to construction documentation, procurement of equipment, and associated amenities. So there's a motion, a second. Any discussion?
Could I amend that motion to include a 60% design workshop?
You can make a motion to amend the motion and see if you get a second.
A motion to amend the motion to include a 60% design workshop as a condition of approval?
No, just.
Oh, okay. Still new to this.
I believe the maker of the motion has to affirm that amendment. Is that correct?
No, he can get a second from somewhere else and then you'll take a vote on that first.
Is there a second to that motion?
I would second.
All in favor of the
Roll call.
a roll call? Roll call vote, please.
Counselor Spurrow,
No.
Counselor Welker,
No.
Counselor Dick,
No.
Counselor Schreiber,
Yes.
Counselor Duquette.
Yes.
Motion fails. Back to the main motion. Any other discussion?
I do want to say I appreciate that part of the playground 100%. I feel for everybody who will enjoy it and need it. Yeah, it's a great, well-designed, inclusive playground.
Yeah, just want to say I appreciate staff for working hard. I have a 10-year-old, 8-year-old, 6-year-old, and a 4-year-old, 3-year-old, and I can't think of anything on this thing that they won't be able to do. And I can't think of anything else that we could make it honestly even better. So, but I do appreciate council members and their concerns. Absolutely. We've been working on this for a long time. Very excited. My kids are gonna have a great time. So thank you.
Any other further council discussion?
Yeah, Mr. Mayor. So just to clarify my earlier comments, I don't think that we're going down the wrong road. I think that we are absolutely on the right road. I'm just not quite comfortable writing $1 million check without knowing exactly what we're buying or seeing all the comments to the survey. I think that it's absolutely prudent to I'll get a little further down the road and get that in front of the public, and maybe there's small tweaks that need to be made, like this moving the playground 100 feet away, that could make everyone happy. So.
Thank you, Councilman Schreiber.
I agree with that as well.
I do have, before we vote, I just have one question, Maeve. The comments, and I'm sorry if this is a dumb question and that they're out there. The comments from the survey that closed on the 1st, are they available publicly?
Not yet. They're being processed by Mike and his team. And then once they are made available, I have a project website, and then all of the comments and the progress of the project will go on that project website, and then people can subscribe to it, and that's how you can stay informed. And certainly I can come back and give updates on the progress of the project as we're moving through this. So if there are any changes that are monumental, I would professionally come back and ask and let you know if there's some sort of major deviation. I do think that the biggest change that we would see going forward would be literally the color or something like that. But we have the feedback that says the community wants a nature theme, so we'll tend to pick nature themed colors. But if there's an opportunity to come back and share something that we are at a decision point, I certainly can do that, and we can schedule that on your agenda.
Thank you, Maeve. One more question, without going to the weeds of the contract, do you happen to know change orders? I'm thinking of a scenario where you process the comments, come back with this final design. There's a disagreement in the community that there was 85 comments that wanted a purple elephant there or something, whatever. Does the contract have a set fee for the change orders, the time and materials? Do you happen to know?
No, it's not defined how we process change orders. At this point, we wouldn't be we wouldn't be entering into a construction contract at this point. All we're asking for at this point is to move from schematic into construction design development while simultaneously purchasing the equipment. As far as a change order goes, we probably wouldn't experience that until next summer once we're actually under contract, and you will have an opportunity to weigh in prior to that when we come to you for the construction contract. So there's some time before that.
Thank you, Maeve. We have a motion and a second. It's a roll call vote.
Counselor Schreiber,
Yeah, I just am not comfortable moving forward at this point, so I'm going to say no.
Counselor Duquette.
I'm confused on what the motion was, I guess. We did the 60-40 and then.
I can repeat that motion if you'd like.
Thank you. Wow, you're amazing.
This is a motion to approve the resolution accepting the Travers Park inclusive playground and splash pad final schematic design and directing the project to proceed to construction documentation and procurement of equipment and associated amenities.
I guess as is, I would have to say I'm not for it, not saying I am not for this amazing, well-designed, inclusive playground, but I still have issues.
Is that a vote of no?
I guess.
Counselor Dick?
Yes.
Counselor Welker?
Yes.
Counselor Sprow?
Yes.
Wishy-washy, yes, it was.
And the motion passes 3-2. Just a moment, Councilwoman Duquette. Ms. Ward, is it typical that the mayor repeats the decision of the motion, or do you typically do that? I just want to.
That is something you're certainly welcome to do, Mr. Mayor.
All right.
Or if you'd like for me to do, I'm
But you
happy to
don't-
do as well.
Okay, thank you.
And we can discuss it tomorrow.
Excellent, excellent. Thank you. Moving on, council members. And I do want to attend to your question, Councilwoman.
It's a comment.
Comment.
I just don't want it to be misconstrued that I am in any way against this inclusive playground.
Okay.
I would like to see what happens to the other equipment and some of the other issues. Perhaps that's another agenda item. I do not know. I just don't want anybody to think that I am anti this at all. It's just as is right now. And splash pad.
I think your comments
Okay.
reflected that. I think
Okay.
you were very,
Okay.
showed that you were in favor of it. Just, it was the process and design
All
and
right.
timing and surveys that may conflict with your emotions or decision. Moving on, the next agenda item is item 7C, mortgage policy and procedures. For the final item, under old, now new business. Following the staff presentation during council's December 20th meeting, council will now consider mortgage policy changes for those on the wait list to include priority for city residents for sailing vessels on the dry dock. I now yield the floor to us.
Mr. Mayor.
Okay, thank you, Fonda.
Ms. Stapleton was
city
afraid
attorney.
her voice just was
Yeah.
not going to
No.
hold up.
Yeah, it sounded like it.
So as discussed at the December 20th meeting, what's been brought before you tonight is a consolidated and amended policy and procedure related to Sandpoint City Beach and your marina policies, specifically to give Sandpoint City residents priority for moorage, and also take the administrative policies and procedures that had previously been in place and adopt them more formally into a formal written policy. As indicated, it was discussed at your last meeting, and you now have the policy in front of you for consideration. It's there's a timing component to this just for you to be aware of, which is the fact that your moorage opportunities are going to be opening immediately. And so if there was a choice to table this tonight, just for your information, it would impact your ability for the year of 2024 to give your Sandpoint City residents priority.
Thank you, Ms. Jokovic. There's probably no one here who could backfill the new council members on percentages and numbers on wait list, I'm guessing. So we're probably a bit, or maybe the old council knows, but at this point, I'd open up to council discussion. Is there any council discussion on the mortgage
Just
policy
Mr.
update?
Mayor, if I might, if we could ask our new counselors, have you guys had enough time to prepare for this particular agenda item?
From what I remember last meeting that Ms. Stapleton shared, I have no issues with going ahead with this.
Mr. Mayor, yeah, I'm comfortable moving forward as well.
Excellent. Any other discussion? I do have one question for the attorney, if there's no other comment. Ms. Jokovic, you've reviewed this for legal, review in terms of discrimination or grant conflicts or anything else that would prioritize city residents over non-residents?
We've given it review, yes. It's had legal review.
Excellent. With that, council members, if there's no more comment, I would consider a motion.
Let me make a motion. I make a motion that we pass.
Mr. Mayor,
Oops.
if I may,
Yes, please.
I could be happy to read that motion then.
Okay,
can
thank
make-
you.
This would be a motion to approve the resolution for the Sandpoint City Beach Windbag Marina Policy and Procedures.
Thank you, Madam Clerk.
Okay. So moved.
There's a motion by Councilwoman Duquette. Is there a
Second.
second? Second by Councilman Spiro. Any discussion? And comment? No. Okay. We'll call for a roll call vote then.
Counselor Duquette,
Yes.
Counselor Schreiber,
Yes.
Counselor Sprow,
Yes.
Counselor Welker,
Yes.
Counselor Dick.
Yes.
Motion approved unanimously. Thank you, council members. How's everyone doing? We good? Can we keep rolling? Anyone need
Yeah.
to break?
Let's
Great.
plow through.
Okay, next item, since we skip or we've already taken care of new business item 10A, we're moving on to 10B, City of Sandpoint representation on the Selkirk Fire Joint Powers Board. The next item under new business, following discussion, the city attorney regarding the city's obligation for representation on the Selkirk Joint Powers Agreement Board. I'd like to ask council to nominate and vote on a council member to replace the city on the board, as well as an alternative member. I'm about to turn it over to city attorney for comment. I do have one question for, and maybe you address it, Ms. Jokovic. Jovic, sorry, I'm so bad with names.
All right.
I should just stick with first names, but.
Right up front here for you
Thank
to
you.
read.
There it is. Look at that. There's, I believe it's section 5 of the Joint Powers Agreement. It designates the city administrator as the chairman of the board. I presume in her absence that the mayor asserts that position. And I guess what I'm not perfectly clear on is we're considering nominations for both the positions or simply the position that was voided by Ms. McAllister's departure.
Just, so your decision point tonight is just in relationship to replacing Ms. McAllister on the board. The city administrator served as the executive director under the JPA, and we can have further discussion on whether or not the mayor slips into that spot or whether or not we need to look at another person. I can't answer that part tonight. I know tonight's motion is just for the actual board member.
Excellent. Thank you for clarification.
You're welcome.
Council members, do you have anything else to present on that, Vonda?
I do not.
Any discussion, council members? I think this is fairly administrative. We just need to fill Kate's position. My intent is to, if permitted, fill or assert that role that Ms. Stapleton was holding, city administrator. Obviously, I think some of us have a little bit of work to get up to speed on the situation with the joint powers agreement. I know that union negotiations are coming up. I know that time is of the essence on this issue. So I would support a nomination for filling that role unless there's other questions.
I'd be interested to know if Mr. Schreiber is interested in that position.
I honestly had not considered this.
Second.
That wasn't a motion. I'm not going to nominate him if he's not interested.
I guess, yeah, I would be interested. Yeah.
I would nominate Mr. Schreiber to represent
I can second.
city council on the JPA board. And I heard a second.
Yes.
Mr.
second.
Schreiber's been nominated by Councilman Welker and second by Councilwoman Duquette to replace Ms. McAllister as the.
You can do your, I'm sorry, you can do your representative and your alternate in the same motion if you'd like. You also.
Oh, okay, excellent.
In the instance, Mr. Schreiber is not available.
Okay, excellent. That's what I wasn't perfectly clear on. So is there a nomination for an alternate?
Mr. Kett, how would you feel about being an alternate? We call this baptism by fire.
No, thank you.
I would serve as alternate if anybody would like to nominate me for that.
I nominate Jason, Mr. Mayor, I nominate Mr. Welker as alternative if something happens to Kyle.
Is there,
Not a threat.
is there a second to that?
It sounded scary there. Something might happen. I
Nominated by
second that nomination.
Councilman Spiro, second by Councilman Dick for Councilman
If not, a
Welker.
consolidated motion for both.
Yeah.
It's a consolidated motion as discussed and seconded by the council on separate motions for Councilman Schreiber to serve as the primary and Councilman Welker to serve as the secondary or alternative member on the Joint Powers Board. Any further discussion?
Save me for something else.
Who said politics can be fun?
Yeah.
Who said this isn't fun?
Fine.
All right, is this a roll call vote? Clerk, yes, it looks like, yes.
Counselor Welker,
Yes.
Counselor Schreiber,
Yes.
Counselor Dick,
Yes.
Counselor Duquette,
Yes.
Counselor Sprow.
Yes.
Great, we are moving right along. Oh, one more item under new business. We'll now move on to item number 10C, strategic planning retreat. Councilman Welker has requested a discussion for council to consider scheduling of 1 to 2 day strategic planning retreat, which would include an elected office training refresher along with discussion and updates to the adopted plan as needed. I now yield the floor to Council President Welker.
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I recalled in my first month on city council 2 years ago, this was something we did, I think, within the first 4 to 5 weeks. And I found it to be one of the most important kind of onboarding opportunities that I had. We do have a strategic plan that I believe was adopted in 2021.
I think it's 2020.
2020. Typically, strategic plans are revisited annually. It has been 2 years. I think with the incoming council and mayor, it's a good idea to have a look at that strategic plan and see what your priorities are. I felt really valued and welcomed as a new councilor 2 years ago because I had input on the strategic plan and we saw the strategic plan amended 2 years ago in response to that input. Same with Justin. So it's a great opportunity for us to come together as a leadership team with the rest of the city's leadership team. We'll have the whole leadership team involved in this retreat experience. When I say retreat, it sounds like we're going to some beautiful mountain resort. It'll probably be at that table in the back. But we might bring sandwiches in from Super One, so we got that to look forward to. So I was gonna request that we direct staff to bring us at our January 17th meeting some potential dates for a strategic planning retreat in the next month.
Can I ask a question?
You may, Council,
Mr. Mayor, sorry.
Councilwoman.
Who is on the leadership team?
Good question. Councilwoman Duquette, as you can imagine, I've only recently been sworn in as mayor. This is going to bring up an issue we should discuss frankly and openly. There's a separation of powers. The council is a legislative body. The mayor is the executive branch. Per Sandpoint City Code, the mayor is responsible for all hiring, staffing. In the biggest picture, the council sets the budget, the legislation. I run the city, and that involves selecting, hiring, firing, and choosing my leaders and my staff. I don't want to get into the weeds right this second on all this, but I don't know right now who's on the leadership committee. To tell you the truth, I have a meeting tomorrow morning with my staff, and I will be learning a lot about how the city's currently running, what gaps there are, what vacancies exist, and I'll be moving forward with directives to fill those vacancies, and I will be apprising the council of those actions as they occur. So at this point, I don't know.
Okay, so it's city staff.
Well, it's the leadership committee. I don't think it's codified in ordinance right now. I don't think it's codified in law. So I think it's a thing. I could call it, I believe, tomorrow, the mayor's team. So I think we need to just give us a few days, a week to for me to get my feet under me, if I could have that. I certainly will be forthright and communicate with all of you as I learn things. But I think this is a great idea, especially in terms of the onboarding. The strategic plan, my personal opinion is there's one plan required in the state of Idaho, and that is a comprehensive plan. And I think that should be our absolute #1 focus. And I'll be bringing forward workshop dates to the council. My hope is to go through those couple chapters at a time in a workshop format in front of the public. But at this point, I guess I would respectfully ask that give me a week or two to get my feet under me. And I assure you my priorities and focus on filling gaps in employment and continuing public service are just as great as every one of yours. And I mean that sincerely. So I'm supportive of the concept and the idea. Councilman Welker, I just asked if we could just maybe give us a breath here. We've already talked with the attorney about providing the new council members with updates on procedures and policies and things like that. I agree that's super valuable. And I'll leave it at that for the moment.
And I think my intent was not to do anything in your first week. The intent was to direct staff to come to us with some possible dates in 2 weeks to schedule that within the next 4 to 6 weeks. I do think it's important for council to be aware of who the leadership team is at the city. We do have a city administrator form of government here currently, and we do have a defined leadership team currently who you will meet tomorrow morning. So maybe you'll be more prepared to have this, to sit in this strategic planning meeting within the next month.
Yeah, Councilman Walker, I appreciate that. And I guess I'm not aware that we have a city manager form of government.
I do not, yeah, no, city administrator.
I wasn't aware that the public ever voted on that per Idaho code. So I believe we have a mayor council form of government.
Okay.
And if I'm wrong, I stand to be corrected. So on this one, I guess in good faith, I certainly will work with the council and would love to. I think there's so much value in being coordinated, as I mentioned in my opening remarks. And I just asked for a week or two. I really think in my mind, the comp plan is our #1 priority. We have an agendized discussion of that, but so we shouldn't go into too much depth on it, but I would strongly desire to jump right into the comp plan so we can get that adopted.
Mr. Mayor, May I comment?
Councilwoman Duquette, sure,
I would love an elected official training.
yes.
We're working on that.
Okay,
Yes.
thank you.
Yes, the newly electeds will all get.
You can see that I need that.
Mr. Mayor, I also would love more training, but I'm just have one question. Is this going to be open to the public and available for the public to watch maybe on Zoom or something like that?
Historically, so it's noticed as a public meeting and the public has an opportunity to observe. It's a workshop style format, so there's not public input, but public certainly has a right to observe. Anytime there's 3 or more of you in a space, four technically, but we are required to notice that. So it is noticed as a public meeting, but it's in a workshop style.
Thank you. That's exactly what I was asking. I was concerned about the.
And Kyle, if you, I mean, I would love it if members of the public would attend something like
It's-
this. I think it would be incredibly valuable. I wish it was required viewing in Sandpoint, actually.
Then maybe it needs to be at a different time besides 5 to 7.
Oh, we haven't scheduled it yet.
Okay.
No matter what time you do,
Just-
people will
just share-
complain,
just sharing.
complain. So
This one is usually one full day, if
Okay.
not more.
All right.
And Fonda, also to clarify, at workshops, no decisions can be made.
That's
Correct, yeah.
Thank you very much. With that, Councilman Welker, I guess I'll leave it to you and the rest of the council whether or not there needs to be a motion. I'm a little bit unsure of what that motion is at this point. So there's a graceful, elegant way to let this die. I would love to revisit it in 2 weeks. Once I know.
Mr. Mayor, do you want to make a motion to direct staff?
Actually, I believe to put it on the agenda, we only need 2 of us to approve that. So I guess that's something I'm going to be putting on the next agenda with the support of 1 other council member is to schedule a strategic planning workshop.
So for the purpose of this.
So I guess no motion is needed tonight as well.
Yeah, well, yeah, and there's a process if you want to force an item on the agenda, of course. So having said that, I don't believe any actions required on that item 10C. And is there any further public comment before we adjourn this meeting?
Come on.
Hearing none. Council members, it's been an honor to conclude this first meeting with you all, and I look forward to the future with working with you. So thank you so much. This meeting is now adjourned at 8:23-ish PM. Thank you. Do I bang the gavel?
Gavel back.
Welcome. Thank you.